Hello Planeswalkers! Andrew here with my second Halloween deck tech. Last time was vampires, and this time it's spirits, led by Kykar, the Wind's Fury. Kykar is a 3/3 flying bird wizard for 1 blue, red, white that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell you make a 1/1 flying spirit, and you can sacrifice a spirit to add a red. This deck focuses on making an obscene amount of token creatures to overrun your opponents, as well as playing huge damaging spells that can be made for by sacking spirits to Kykar. For general spirits, we have Anafenza, Kintree Spirit, who bolsters 1 when a non-token creature enters your field. Drogskull Reaver has flying, double strike, and lifelink, and draws you 1 whenever you gain life. Geist of Saint Traft has hexproof and makes a temporary angel on attack. Layla, the Blade Reforged, has haste and lets you impulse draw on attack. She also gets a +1/+1 counter whenever you exile a card from your library or grave. Mausoleum Wanderer has flying and gets +1/+1 for the turn whenever a spirit enters your field. You can also sack it to counter a spell unless that spell's controller pays mana equal to Mausoleum Wanderer's power. Nico Anna destroys an enchantment on entry, and this is not a May effect, so if you have any enchantments that you want to keep around, make sure an opponent also has one, or Nico Anna will blow up one of yours. Whenever you play a spirit, you can bounce her to your hand. Whenever a Spiritual Guardian enters from your hand, you gain 4 life. For token makers, we have Akeem, the Soaring Wind, who makes a 1/1 bird whenever another effect makes you tokens, and you can pay into it to give all your tokens double strike for a turn. Benevolent Offering lets you choose an opponent, and you each make 3 1/1 spirits. Then you choose another opponent, or the same one if you want, and you each gain life equal to your respective number of creatures. Brutaclad, Telkor Engineer, gives your tokens haste, and at the start of combat he makes a 2/1 mirror, then you may turn all your tokens into copies of 1 target token. Court of Grace makes you the Monarch, and on your upkeep makes a 1/1 spirit if you're not the Monarch, or a 4/4 Angel if you are. Field of Souls makes a 1/1 spirit whenever a non-token creature enters your grave. When Hallowed Spirit Keeper dies, you make a 1/1 spirit for each creature in your grave. Promise of Boonrai gets sacked when one of your creatures dies, and then it makes 4 1/1 spirits. Spectral Procession makes 3 1/1 spirits. Spirit Bonds lets you pay a white to make a spirit whenever a non-token enters your field, and you can pay into it and sack a spirit to give a non-spirit indestructible. The Locust God has flying and makes a 1/1 insect with haste and flying whenever you draw a card. Twilight Drover gets a muscle counter whenever a token leaves the field. You can pay and remove a counter from it to make 2 spirits. Now we've got some spells that make use of the high amount of mana that Kykar can produce from your tons of spirits. Aurelius Fury lets you split up its X damage between any number of targets. Every creature this hits is tapped, and every player hit this way can't cast non-creature spells this turn. Banefire deals X damage to any target, and if it's 5 or more, it can't be countered, and the damage can't be prevented. Bonfire has double X in its cost, but it costs just 1 X when you draw it if it's your first draw of the turn. It deals X damage to target player and each creature they control. Boros Charm lets you deal 4 to a creature or planeswalker, give your creatures indestructible for the turn, or give a creature double strike for the turn. Comet Storm deals X damage to a target, and you can add targets for 1 generic mana each. Electrodominance deals X damage to any target, and then you can cast a spell with mana value X or less from your hand for free. Energy Bolt deals X damage to a player, or makes them gain X life. Expansion Explosion can copy a mana value 4 or less instant or sorcery, or it can deal X damage to any target, and target player draws X cards. Fault Line deals X damage to each creature without flying and each player. To protect yourself, we have Guardian of Faith, which has Flash and Vigilance, and when it enters, you can phase out any number of your creatures. Kira, Great Glass Spinner, gives every one of your creatures, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability for the first time each turn, counter it. Lightning Bolt deals 3 damage to any target. March of Souls destroys all creatures and replaces them with 1/1 spirits. Selfless Spirit can be sacked to give your creatures indestructible for the turn. Skyclave Apparition exiles a mana value 4 or less permanent on entry, and when the apparition leaves the field, that card's controller makes an XX illusion, where X is the exiled card's mana value. Tradewind Rider lets you bounce a permanent by tapping it and 2 other creatures you control. Ugin, the Ineffable, can make a 2/2 spirit by exiling the top card of your deck, and when that spirit dies, the exiled card goes into your hand. You can also destroy a target colored permanent. On to support with a Johnny's Welcome, which gains you a life whenever a creature enters your field. Angelic Chorus has you gain life whenever a creature enters your field equal to its toughness. Haven Wind Guide gives your creature tokens Flying and Vigilance. Balefire Liege gives your red creatures +1/+1, your white creatures +1/+1, damages a player for 3 when you cast a red spell, and gains you 3 life when you cast a white spell. Cathar's Crusade puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control whenever a creature enters your field. Deadeye Navigator soul bonds to a creature when either card enters the field, and you can pay 1 and a blue to blink either one of the bonded creatures. Esper Sentinel draws you a card whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, unless they pay mana equal to the Sentinel's power. Offrey Ghost Forge gives your spirits +1/+1, trample, and haste. Icon of Ancestry gives your spirits +1/+1 and lets you pay and tap it to look at the top 3 cards of your deck and reveal spirit from among them and add it to your hand. Illuminate History lets you discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards. Then if there are 7 or more cards in your grave, you can make a 3/3 spirit. Impact Tremors hits each opponent for 1 whenever a creature enters your field. In the Web of War gives a creature +2/+0 and haste when it enters your field. Kami of the Crescent Moon has everyone draw an extra card each turn. Lorehold Command lets you choose 2 between making a 3/2 spirit, giving your creatures +1/+1 indestructible haste, hitting a target for 3 and gaining you 3, or sacking a permanent and to draw 2 cards. Panharmonicon doubles your ETB triggers for creatures and artifacts. Perforos, God of the Forge, does the same thing as Impact Tremors, but for 2 damage. Rattlechains has Flash, and when it enters, target spirit gains hexproof for the turn. It also lets you cast spirits at instant speed. Soul's Attendant gains you a life whenever another creature enters the field. Suture Priest gains you a life whenever a creature enters your field, and causes your opponents to lose a life whenever a creature enters their field. Teferi's Angel's Insight doubles your card draws except for your first draw on each of your draw steps. Vanquisher's Banner gives your spirits +1/+1 and draws you a card whenever you cast a spirit. Warstorm Surge hits any target whenever a creature enters your field for damage equal to that creature's power. For ramp, you have Arcane Signet, which taps for any color. Archaeomancer's Map searches you 2 basic planes on entry and puts them into your hand. Then whenever a land enters an opponent's field, if they have more lands than you can put a land from your hand onto the field. Azorius Signet can filter 1 mana into a white and a blue. Izzet Signet does the same with Izzet Mana. Mana Echoes adds a colorless to your mana pool whenever a creature enters your field for each creature you control that shares a creature type with it. Sol Ring is Sol Ring. Lastly, for lands, you've got Cascade Bluffs, Command Tower, Hollowed Fountain, Mystic Gate, Rogran Triumph, Rugged Prairie, Sacred Foundry, Sea of Clouds, Spectator Seating, Steam Vents, and Training Center. You've also got 6 islands, 6 mountains, and 13 plains. A lot of these lands are pretty pricey, so feel free to swap out any dual lands out for guild gates or snow duels, whatever you can afford, really. And that's the deck. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing. It helps us out a lot. As always, have a great day, y'all.